Now, isn't Uma amazing, and a squad that came up with it? And I want to thank her, Youth Strikers for Climate Justice, our trade union movement, Extinction Rebellion and climate activists for coming together to make politicians listen. And there are some brilliant politicians listening, my amazing team. We've got the very clever Alan Whitehead leading our green energy revolution. We've got the legend that is Barry Gardner for leading international climate change. The amazing Danielle Rowley bringing our green industrial revolution to life. We've got the total diamond that is Laura Pidcock, who's creating the Ministry of Employment, the future Secretary of State. We've got the time titan, Chi Onwurah, setting out our industrial strategy. The Sefton superstar that is Bill Esterson, who's instrumental in our plans for the high street and business support. The steely Sheffield warrior, Jill Furness, developing plans for Steel, Postbank and Royal Mail. And our amazing team in the Lords. And I also need to give a big shout out to all the trade unions and members who were at our compositing meeting. We have broken the record for the longest compositing meeting in the history of Labour Party conferences. But there were so many good ideas and passion in the room that we've now got two of the most ambitious policies that have ever come to the Labour Party conference floor. And just one more quick heartfelt thanks to John McDonnell and Andy MacDonald, without whom the policies I'm about to talk about today wouldn't be possible. The late, great Tony Benn once said, "Hope is the fuel of progress, and fear is the prison in which you put yourself." And for too long, our communities have been afraid of not having a job to go to, afraid of not being able to pay the bills, and afraid of what the future might hold. And that hope of the future, that belief that life will get better for every generation coming through, seems to have been lost. And that hope will be trampled on once again. If the right-wing free market Brexiteers in number 10 get their way with no deal, there's no two ways about it. We do face the destruction of industries once again. But it's going to be okay for them and their rich disaster capitalist friends as they bet against our economy and laugh all the way to their tax havens. And faced with the threat of climate catastrophe, well, they laugh their way through that too. A primitive fear without foundation, Boris Johnson said. These are the very people who loaded the cost of the bankers' crisis onto the backs of the poor. So be under no illusions. It will be the poor and the vulnerable who are faced to shoulder the human and economic price of climate breakdown. This year, one of the worst tropical storms on record killed over 1,000 people in Mozambique. Catastrophic fires swept across the Amazon rainforest, Siberia and Greenland, and extreme heat was recorded all over the world. The Met Office, the IPCC and others describe a potential future of extreme weather, rising sea levels and water and food insecurity. And if we allow this to happen, if we don't stand together as a society and define the battle against climate change as a battle for social justice, it will be seized upon by those who want to divide us. The far right are ready to capitalise on climate change, the threat of resource scarcity and economic despair, and they will mobilise if we allow the cost of taking action to fall on the shoulders of the poor, workers and consumers to reinforce their messages of nationalism and exclusion. But millions of people across the world took to the streets on Friday, demanding climate justice because they know that politicians need to wake up, act faster and provide social justice if we're to save the planet. And we agree. And that's why last year I announced Labour's Green Industrial Revolution, the seeds of a Green New Deal. Government intervention to rapidly decarbonise our economy and push aside decades of neoliberal policy to create the industries of the future. Quality, unionised, green jobs, a proper industrial strategy, public ownership of our water and energy, and intervention in the economy to make sure that the technologies of the future are manufactured and assembled here. But now we need to go further, faster, and we need to ask, who will really own the future the Green Industrial Revolution brings? And you know, this question goes right to the heart of why all of us joined the Labour Party. If the height of our ambition is softening the ravages of unfettered capitalism and signing up to some watered-down version of austerity, well, we might as well all go home now. But I know you're all here because we share a powerful belief, passed on through our movement from generation to generation, that every financial and political decision made by government and by industry should be underpinned by one fundamental and immovable socialist principle: to secure for the workers, by hand or by brain, the full fruits of their industry and the most equitable distribution that may be possible on the basis of common ownership. It might not be on the back of our membership cards anymore, but it's in here. So, today's conference, I'm setting out a bold vision for common ownership in our Green Industrial Revolution with the People's Power Plan. To start, we will deliver a 7-fold increase in offshore turbines in 12 years, but we can't rely on the market to act fast enough. So the people will take a majority stake in all new offshore wind farms. And our National Transformation Fund will allocate £6.2 billion to jump-starting a homegrown renewable industry. Our People's Power Plan, well, it'll deliver £83 billion of investment and strengthen our manufacturing sector by using public buying power to support local businesses, reshoring thousands of jobs to coastal towns. And the revenues, they will flow back to the people, and 20% of the public profits from offshore wind will be carved out for a People's Power Fund, investing up to £1 billion in held-back coastal communities. And those communities will invest in leisure centres, libraries, parks, harbour waterfronts, you name it, all to boost quality of life. Because you see, the Green Industrial Revolution is about tackling climate change, yes, but it's more than that. It's the biggest economic lever we have to rebuild Britain after decades of deindustrialisation and to usher in a new era of public luxury, a modern standard of living. Austerity politics has led us to believe that healthy lives, a nice home and the ability to buy the technologies of the future are not within our grasp anymore, that if you're in the wrong income bracket, well, you just can't have it. Take zero-emission vehicles. Over 40 areas in the UK have illegal levels of air pollution, yet the government does nothing to make clean vehicles affordable for the majority of people. Instead, as global headwinds sweep across the automotive sector, the jewel in the crown of British manufacturing, and plants close from Swindon to Bridgend, they just sit on their hands. But we know the Tories' game. We know they're quite happy to let the heart be ripped out of industrial communities. We've seen it before. Well, we're not. Today, conference, I can announce that Labour will secure this iconic industry's future as part of the Green Industrial Revolution. We will accelerate the electric car revolution with a vehicle scrappage scheme to take 400,000 of the dirtiest cars off our roads. And 2.5 million interest-free loans for the purchase of EVs. Will require that 100% of the government fleet is electric by 2025. That's 70,000 new electric vehicles alone. On private fleets that make up half of all new vehicle purchases, will reduce the cost of going electric with a waiver on the excise duty surcharge and providing certainty on company car tax. And for those fleets that do transition entirely to EVs by 2025, well, we promise to install charging stations in their workplaces and depots. So in this way, Labour will ensure the right conditions are in place for an electric vehicle revolution on our roads, but that's not all. We'll invest £3.6 billion into building charging networks. That's over 72,000 charging banks in towns and along motorways. And we'll support the automotive industry to meet the increased demand that these measures will bring. Labour will make £3 billion of equity finance available to the automotive sector to invest in electrification of their plants. And will exempt new investment in plant and machinery from business rates. We'll bring research and development investment in the automotive sector in line with competitors, making £500 million available for new automotive technologies. And we'll invest £1.8 billion in collaboration with the private sector to build 3 huge battery production facilities called gigafactories in Stoke, Croydon and South Wales, bringing thousands of jobs to these areas. And to create a new sustainable industry, we will invest £500 million into 4 metal reprocessing plants to reprocess cobalt and minerals used in batteries, and a further £50 million into drop-off points and battery collection sites. But what if even the dream of owning a car is still out of your reach? Well, what if Beryl from Salford just wants a car for one day to do the weekly shop or to pick her grandkids up from school? Well, Labour will invest £300 million to support the creation of community car clubs. owned by the community, so everyone has access to this technological revolution as easy as ordering a pizza. Through this bold package of measures, Labour will drive forward the electric car revolution and everyone will be part of it. So, conference, what will Uma and her friends say 30 years from now? Well, I make no apologies for the belief in socialism that brought me here today. Yes, life was hard. It was for everyone I knew. And yes, despite that, I managed to do very well. But it wasn't a glittering X Factor story of triumph over adversity. It was sheer luck. An aspiration built on luck is a lottery ticket that most of us will lose. My socialism and your socialism isn't about luck. It's about saving the planet and ushering in a new era of public luxury based on social and climate justice. It's about building an economy that offers financial security, common ownership and quality unionised jobs. And it's about making aspiration, a modern standard of living, a birthright. So I say to our children, you will be happy, healthy, well off, and just as the trade unionist Bill Haywood said once, that nothing was too good for the working class, I say, with the utmost conviction, we will make sure that nothing will ever be too good for you. Solidarity.